Hello, Meoni here, and welcome back to another video. This time I want to just make a quick discussion and a bit of a plea to Square Enix for the future, for the basically how the duty finder system works and the way that we can track and reward players for doing things that fundamentally will become harder to do as time progresses. As most of you will probably know, that we have the roulette system, which was originally designed for the express idea of fulfilling all of those things. Like, for example, if there's a tank in need, it should now say that there's a tank in need, if there's DPS in need, etc. And this was essentially a feature to allow people to queue into things. Maybe new players were coming to the game, they were going through the storyline, and they wanted to do certain parts of the main scenario, or whatever it might be, a leveling dungeon, anything like that, low level stuff. This was supposed to bridge that gap. Additionally to that, the mentor roulette acts as a great way for players like myself who have got mentorship status in the game from doing so much, criteria towards that, so many dungeons, to be able to help people, and in return we would get a mount eventually from, that many commendations and how many times you've done the mentor roulette. However, I don't believe that this is enough, because it doesn't actually cover all of the content in the game. There are many things in the game that are not featured, most notably hard mode dungeons, things like that, not necessarily. Some things are featured in some of the roulettes, but for the most part, you're still relying on people to actively want to queue for that content in the first place. And there will be diminishing returns, especially when you have things like story skips, and obviously level skips. So some of the older content is going to be left behind, especially as we're adding up to a level 100 with Dawntrail, presumably another 10 levels after that, and another 10 levels after that for the 2 expansions following. That's a pure guess. I would imagine they would, though. It seems to follow the same formula, and unless they change something drastic, I imagine we'll be at like 120 by 9.0, if there is such a thing, which there is supposed to be. As Yoshi P has mentioned, there's another 10 years of Final Fantasy XIV at the very least in his head. So we've got other things though that don't get as much love. So we have daily challenges. I would originally call this a roulette, but it is not. It is a daily challenge frontline that you can get extra rewards for. It's great that they've added Series EXP to this. Fantastic things, extra bonuses, wolf marks, that sort of stuff. The new PvP series system is great. It sort of makes you able to progressively do any PvP in the game to get rewards. This is nice. It means that people can be incentivized to do more PvP. One thing I will notice though is that nowhere else on here are other PvP activities. If you go queue specifically for PvP activities, it shouldn't require a Moogle event or a community event to actually make these things happen. There's a lot of PvP content, especially when it comes to Rival Wings. It's just so incredibly difficult to do Rival Wings achievement spam at the best of times, unless there is a Moogle event on, which there is currently. This is the sort of thing that I would like to see added to a roulette in the future. More incentives for people to actually click this and press the join button. Of course, there's going to be fairly decent queue times because of the event currently on, but there is obviously a lack, of extra incentives. Is this the best system to actually use to incentivize this, though? Now, originally, before I saw the new Mughal Tome event, I would have said, yes, add a new roulette, add a PvP roulette section that rotates through all the PvP, add a new section to this with other dungeons, things that don't normally get queued into, give us rewards for doing that. Excellent idea. And whilst I still think that's something they could do, I'm more interested in the new feature that's been added with this Mughal Tome event. So if you don't know about this, essentially under the collections tab, once you unlock this by talking to an itinerant Moogle, you have to go up to a Moogle in one of the starting city states. For example, Limbs Elementis is over here at the actual Lower Decks Plaza. You'll get the Mogpendium. On the Mogpendium then, this is probably one of the most feature-laden pieces of UI, I have seen them add to the game in a very long time. As you can see your objectives. There's presumably 2 of these Mughal events. When this one ends, another one begins. But what I like about this is the proof of concept that this UI can exist so that we can see, you know, obviously for this event it shows the rewards, but also incentivizations for certain pieces of content that may die in terms of activity for any particular reason. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that they should keep the Moogle events all the time, but what they could do is change this to be a more permanent feature, change it from Mogpendium to something else, or keep the Mogpendium idea, and outside of Moogle events, reward normal tomestones. I mean, a lot of people are doing their relic stuff, right? They might be wanting to get their causality, or maybe even their weekly cap of comedy. What a great way to incentivize people to do old content, reduce the queue times for new players to 0, and also allow people to see more of the game that they normally wouldn't. I do think this is a great example of that feature in the game now. This is something that they've put in. This was not a difficult thing for them to patch in today. There was no actual patch. Presumably it was already in the game files. I have no idea how they did this. But I like this as well on the mini-mog challenges, where you essentially can choose this choice feature. You can either do 5 fates in this zone, right, in these 2 zones, or you do a triple triad match and win against an NPC in a low-level area, right, for full per. But the concept behind this, rewarding tomes, this could be expanded upon. Make this reset like every day or something. Give people other things. So let's, for example, see, because they have internal numbers, right, of what people are queuing for and what they're not. So as a new player, you might be going, oh, I really need to do the Alexander raids because no one's queuing for them. And you try the normal raid roulette. It isn't working. You're trying to queue. You're queuing for hours. But what they could do is go, oh, well, we've seen a sudden interest in this, and it could update on the fly. It could even be on a data center basis. Now, if you think about some of the, you know, lesser population servers, a lot of people have told me about Dynamis and the various issues that go on within various servers where, you know, they are finding it difficult to queue into things. This would be a great way to actually incentivize things and make them specific to those places. So I think this is not only is this a fantastic feature for in-game events, but this is a proof of concept that works, that's in the game and could be recycled. There's no excuse to be made now. If they're capable of doing something as incredible as this to incentivize even gate events, you know, it's not like it's just duties, then they can do this with anything. Like, imagine if, for example, you would notice that people were trying to, you know, maybe there was some player feedback that, oh, it's really difficult to go and do this specific fate, or some of the fate rewards, right? So in some of the zones, there are achievements for doing fate chains. Okay, so there's like a fate that spawns, and then there's another fate that spawns after that, and so on and so forth. I'm trying to do this on the fly and remember where it is, but think of it from that concept. Instead of you going, oh, well, I'm never going to get the Fox Fate, you know, Tamamo headband unless I do Chloe's silver certificates now. But imagine if you could incentivize people to go and do that by going, hey, one of your weekly challenges, oh, and there's like the Fox Fate pops up or something. I just think this is a great, versatile feature that could be fleshed out even further. And if I don't say now in a video, I want more of this, then someone else will, obviously, and hopefully they do. I would love to see more things. This is the first time I've seen something in the collection menu that is so incredibly helpful. I would like to see it baked into the rest of the game. Yes, okay, the unending codex is great for a lore thing. I would love to see more of this. But yeah, honestly, Final Fantasy XIV's and Creative Business Unit 3's UI game recently has been so on point, and I could not be happier for features like this. So hopefully Dawntrail, I really hope that Dawntrail comes with something like this. I remember the first time I saw the achievement system when I was on the previous media tour, and I saw this, and because it was a blank page, which prompted me to ask Yoshi P in that interview that I was lucky enough to be a part of. I was like, so what's going on with the achievement system? Because no one had talked about it. It was just this weird page. All of this was blanked out, and they were like, oh, there'll be incentives to actually go and do achievements. And this is great. I love the near completion thing. It incentivizes people to go, oh, well, what am I close to completing? Oh, well, if I did one more S rank in Othard, I'd get that particular achievement. I haven't done like any hunts in the game, so this is mostly all going to be hunts. If I deliver some more collectibles, oh, I only needed to do like another week of collectibles to get this stuff. Now, obviously, they might add more things to achievement points and the certificates in the future. And hopefully that's the subsequent thing. And then there's the recommended tab. This is great. Gives you kind of like challenges. You can press the shuffle button. This is great. But more incentives built into rewards that people actively use, like tomes. This is the perfect solution. This is the solution we've been looking for. And hopefully they realize all of this positive feedback at Square Enix and go, oh, this was a massive success and people like this. Just imagine how much more you could expand this and make this permanent. That's what I want, basically. I know I ask for a lot in videos, but above anything else at this point, for the future in the game and the well-being of new players that don't want to story skip or level skip, this is the feature we need baked into the rest of the game. It is so well done. Anyway, that's my few thoughts and opinions on that and where we could go into the future. But honestly, yeah, I would love to see the daily routine in Final Fantasy XIV get the Phoenix down that it deserves, and that is a great option. So fingers crossed for Dawntrail. Hopefully they listen to feedback like this and go to the forums if you like this and actually say, you know, because more often than not people say, oh, the forums, they're not useful, you know, they won't listen. Well, they actually do listen to a lot of the stuff that's posted there, believe it or not. So if you don't post something, then you're part of the problem rather than trying to alleviate it. So definitely give your feedback to Square Enix on this one. I'm massively impressed with this. I can't wait to see what they do next. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on the whole topic and what I would love to see in the future. Much love. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye. I really do hope they bake this in. It's such a good feature. It really is. I love the idea of it unlocking at resets as well, giving you something new to sort of engage with. And also, someone else brought up in a comment that the Triple Triad one, for example, it focuses on single-player activities as well as MMO activities. And I like that. It's a nice sort of mix of activities that you could do, because there was this whole thing about, you know, Square Enix wanting to have a single player experience as well. We'll add to this then. Easy mode. Anyway, have a good day. More videos on the way. See you all next time. Bye bye.